As usual, we want to begin by settling in, getting mind and body together. Consanda Sankaraf Shiri Sampamakaraja Shuna Susan Naglatin, but so so wanted. I mean, she came to put on it to Susan David, when they had such a so to zip. So, in a Mesha Castle, again, look, that's on Kamakasanda, who said she came back. Imagination Sutra, the Kiki Sutra, thinking of Guru Pema City. So we want to begin with our bodhicitta motivation. Bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So in this path, everything we do is ultimately for the benefit of others. We try to have that as our motivation for practicing, for anything that we do that is positive or virtuous. We want to try to do with this bodhicitta motivation. And for things that are neutral, so that is, we have typically roughly 3 types of activities: positive or skillful, negative or unskillful, and neutral. So positive act is, practicing, um, doing something to help somebody out, serving others, charity, all that kind of usual things. Okay, and negative acts are, you know, stealing and killing and the usual stuff, as we're all familiar with. Neutral acts are things like sleeping, drinking water, taking a walk, doing the dishes. It's generally just all the other activities that don't fit into either one of those 2 categories, categorized as neutral. If we can do these neutral things with the bodhicitta motivation, that makes them positive acts. So I'm going to take a sip of water. I can just drink it, like I normally would, right? A neutral act. But if I drink it with bodhicitta motivation and is saying, I drink this water to sustain my body, to sustain my voice, so I can continue to share the Dharma with others, now drinking the water becomes a virtuous act, okay? So practicing, studying the Dharma is always considered virtuous. So we want to create the motivation of attaining enlightenment for the benefit of others. That's our motivation for the time that we're going to spend together this session. I want to talk about why we should meditate. What is the benefits of meditation? It's important to distinguish between the Buddhist view of meditation and why the Buddha even taught meditation and how meditation is used in the Buddhist path, and what some of us call mindfulness. So what I mean by that is the modern day view of mindfulness practice. Okay, I want to distinguish between those 2. Okay, so these types of mindfulness practices in general are really positive. I'm not really trying to say something bad about that. Um, but the issue with that on its own is that it's 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 it seems to be um, kind of viewed in a materialistic sense. And what I mean by that is, in general, there doesn't seem to be in this, modern day mindfulness practices, there really doesn't seem to be any real thought of others. Definitely not bodhicitta. Um, it's more seen as a kind of way to make our life better. I'm going to practice mindfulness so I can calm down. I'm going to practice mindfulness so I can concentrate more. I'm going to practice mindfulness so I can, relax or feel better about myself in some way. And like, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And all of those things will happen actually if we meditate. But the issue is that um, it's it's not enough because there isn't this aspect of compassion. There isn't a lot of depth to it. And sometimes people misrepresent it in various ways. They may misrepresent it as all they may, if they talk about Buddhism at all, which is the basis for these mindfulness practices, it is the source. Um, they don't talk about anything else as if the entire Buddhist path was just mindfulness. It's not, of course. It's so much deeper than that. On the other hand, they might not mention Buddhism at all, um, which, like, you're not obliged, I mean, there's a whole program of John Kabat-Zinn on mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is very skillful and great. And you know, you don't have to be Buddhist to use Buddhist practices. Um, there's certainly a lot here that, particularly meditation, mindfulness practices, compassion, awareness, all of that is extremely helpful for anyone, whether they want to follow this path or not. But from a Buddhist point of view, a mindfulness practice is, um, one of many tools. And meditation itself is one of many tools. And the ultimate goal is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of others. The ultimate goal is that comes right away with that bodhicitta motivation, right? So it's it's so much deeper than mere mindfulness. We're meditating, yes, to concentrate the mind, to to be able to focus, um, and that can definitely help us in our day-to-day life. We'll just in really mundane ways, we can make fewer mistakes. We can find it easier to focus on whatever it is that we want to be doing. We can definitely, be more relaxed, lower our blood pressure, um, um, increase like certain brain activity. Like they've shown in studies that meditators have more gray matter in the brain, for example, and that the uh, prefrontal cortex is positively affected through meditation as well. So it has all those benefits. Um, but in the Buddhist path, meditation is something that is again like just one tool of many, and that the kind of ultimate goal of meditation is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of others, as I said before. And that through meditation, like the more that we do, the deeper that we go, the more that we practice, um, we can actually end up experiencing the true nature of reality. So it's quite a bit more than just, sorry, I was playing with something. I was playing with taking the thing off of this. Just finished doing that. Okay. Um, so uh, so meditation is helpful, and how deep you want to go, how deeply you want to take it, how far you want to go is up to you, you know? Um, so it is helpful, whether you're Buddhist or not. Meditating on a regular basis is going to really help you. It's going to really be quite beneficial. So, um, with that in mind, it is a good idea if you want to meditate for whatever reason to have a regular practice at home. And the advice in that regard is to set up a space in your home that is devoted just to meditation. So it can be, if you're lucky enough to have a room that you're not using, you can make that your meditation room. If not, you can just take a corner of your bedroom and set that up as your meditation space. The advantage of having a place for your meditation, wherever it is in your home, is that it makes it easier to do a daily practice. It removes one obstacle, right? Um, it's so funny when I see these ancient teachings, talking about, um, like I just went through this series here on YouTube of the 4 thoughts that turn the mind towards the Dharma, right? Why do you got to teach that? Why have to teach four ways of thinking so that we want to practice? Because nobody wants to practice. Like, it's so funny to me, it's not just us. It's not just Americans or Europeans or whatever in the 21st century, in the time of the Buddha, and since then, people been like, I know I should practice. I really want to practice, but like, I really don't want to, you know? And then the Buddha's like, okay, you don't want to practice. That's fine. Here's 4 things you can think about, that are going to help you want to practice. And if you want to learn about that, you can go to the previous 4 videos because I actually just finished that series. But it's precious human life, impermanence, um, law of cause and effect, and the suffering of cyclic existence. Those are the 4 thoughts. So the fewer obstacles, the more sort of obstacle free we can create for ourselves at home, the better. Okay. So having a place that is dedicated just to meditation is good. In my case, I don't have the opportunity for that. I'm just on my bed, but I have my altar in my room, and that's where I practice, and it's also where I sleep, and it's also where I work, and it's also where I walk on my treadmill. It's not a lot of things going on in this room, but anyway, so the point being, we just do our best within the situations that we have. So you want to, if you are typically sitting in a chair, you want to put that chair there and always have that chair there. Okay. If you're sitting on the floor, you want to find a comfortable cushion on which to sit, and you always leave it there. Okay. That prevents going with, oh God, I gotta go grab a chair. I gotta go find this thing. And oh my God, I gotta find a cushion. I'll forget it. Okay. We will find any excuse to not practice. Right. So we want to support ourselves in the practice. We want to keep that space clean. Okay. That's another thing. So if, let's say, we've set up a corner of our room for that, we have our cushion on the floor or a chair there or whatever, but we throw our dirty laundry there, it's disrespectful of the place, actually, because that becomes a kind of sacred space. Um, and it presents another obstacle, Well, I don't want to have to move these clothes or move these things or put this stuff away. It's just, okay, I'm not going to practice. Another thing we can do to support our practice is to create an altar or It doesn't have to be like, if you're Buddhist, you want to, of course, do like a Buddhist altar. But if you're not, and you're just trying to create a space for yourself, um, just put a little table there, and whatever you find inspiring, like a candle, some flowers, maybe a picture of the Buddha, or of, someone that you find very inspiring and peaceful. It just sort of, again, is another element for kind of creating a sacred space for yourself, a space that will be supportive of your practice. So we have first a consistent place to do your practice, a comfortable, supportive chair or cushion, keeping it clean, and creating some kind of altar, in quotes, if you want. Okay. Buddhist altar if you're Buddhist, other kind of altar if you're not. Just something that makes you feel peaceful and inspired. Then, once we've done that, it's a little note on that. If it's not like you can't practice anywhere else, you know, like for me, for example, normally I'm practicing in this space. Okay, that's my usual thing. Right, makes it easy. I have everything ready and I'm doing it. Okay. But sometimes I get really sick of being in this room because of all the things I do in this room. Okay. In this case, I might go outside and practice if the weather's nice. I might go outside and practice outside. I'll go in the living room and I'll sit there, or I'll sit somewhere else in the house. It's not like you're not allowed to do that. It's just generally you want a consistent. Also, if you have physical pain, you want to be able to you're it's perfectly fine to get up and walk around. You can do walking meditation. You can, just go and sit somewhere else. You can even lay down for a little bit to rest your back or what have you. The thing with laying down is just, you know, obviously you can just fall asleep quite quickly if you're doing that. So you want to avoid sleeping. So now you have your physical place that you're generally going to be doing your meditation. Then you want to figure out what is a good time for you to practice. What's a good time of day, right? So traditionally, they say the best time to practice is first thing in the morning, actually 4 in the morning, which is why retreats typically start at 4 in the morning. Always. Um, so, um, but it doesn't have to be 4 in the morning, obviously. But, just when you get up. And the reason for that is because we haven't like gotten into the busyness of the day, and things can just get carried away, and then it's the end of the day and we haven't done any practice and we're exhausted, right? So if we just do it right away, the mind is very fresh. We haven't gotten into our emails and our social media and our games and our work and all that can go, so just get away from you. Pardon me, can just get away from you so quickly. And I mean, I've been doing this a very long time, 35 years at least, right? And I still do that. Like, yeah, I want to do my practice, but I just want to have a cup of coffee first, which is fine. That if I would just do that, it's fine. But then I go and get my coffee and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to check my email. Then I'm done, man. I'm done, you know? Oh my God, I got to do this work. I have to do this thing. I have to do that thing. And I'm panicking. And then it's noon. And then I'm like, oh my, I gotta have lunch. And then it's like, oh no, I have a doctor's appointment at 1. And the day's gone. Okay. So that's why just doing that first thing in the morning is usually going to be the easiest for most people. Okay. However, for some people in some situations, that's not going to work. You know, if you're somebody who um, has a hard time sleeping, for example, or has little kids that you need to get out the door, like it just, you know, might not be possible. Then we find another time, you know, maybe on your lunch hour. Like I know there's people who do that. And there was a doctor once who was in my class, and she said, yeah, should have just close the door to her office on her lunch break, and she would, uh, do her practice during her lunch break. Or when you come home from work before you start dinner, you know, come home, put down your stuff, and go do your meditation before you do anything else. Or before bed, you know, that can be a really good time for some people, right? Because your day is done and you're like, okay, I've done like everything I can do for the day. It can be, less distracting. You're already in that mood to kind of be winding down. But for some people, like myself, it's just an invitation to go to sleep. Okay. So we have to see. And the best thing to do is just to experiment. Just experiment. You might find first thing in the morning doesn't work. Maybe lunch, this. Just try all these different things and see what works for you. So you decide, and it doesn't have to be just once. You could meditate when you wake up. You could meditate during all four of those times. When you wake up, at lunch, when you come home, and before you go to bed. That's also fine. It's great. Right? Um, so when's it going to work for you? Then you have to decide how long you want to sit. So somewhere in Western lore, people came up with the number 20 minutes. Nobody knows where this Nobody knows where this came from. There seems to be some kind of magical number where everybody says you should meditate for 20 minutes. No, it's not. You can meditate for 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, an hour and a half, 4 hours, whatever you want. You know, Typically the teachers say that it's good to start with a crazy small amount of time, like stupidly short, 3 minutes, you know. Um, just because and that also is going to depend on you, because even for me as a beginner, like I would have never done that, because I would just be like, It's not even worth my time to sit down if I'm only going to be sitting here for 3 minutes." For some people that's really skillful, or you can take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you choose, but make it short enough that you want to do more. It's the idea. You make it short enough that you don't get sick of it. You're still like thirsty for it, you know okay, it's time to get up, and there'll be something in you that's like, oh, I want to continue. That's okay. That energy of I want to continue is what's going to bring you into the next time that you want to practice, right? Either later in the day or the next day or whatever. If, on the other hand, from the start, without any experience, you sit down and you're like, I'm going to meditate for 2 hours, it's not going to work, and you're going to end up feeling bad about yourself, and kind of feeling like a failure and disappointed and all these things. And then meditation becomes a unpleasant experience, and then you don't want to do it anymore, right? The other thing is like just keeping the mind fresh. If we're a beginner, like especially if we're a beginner, but really at any time, um, it's important to try to keep the mind fresh, awake, that we're not just because like what can happen sometimes is when we start to meditate and we think like, oh, I'm being really calm, but in fact we're just kind of in a half sleep. So that we have to be able to distinguish between actually having a calm mind or having a mind that's halfway to falling asleep. Okay, so that's another reason. And so what they say is short but many times. So if you're sitting like that and you decide, you can even do that short meditations within an hour. Let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to meditate for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to rest for 1 minute. And we don't have to get up or anything. We can just like, I'm not meditating now, tra la la, and then meditate for 3 minutes, and then rest for 1 minute. We can do that for a whole hour if we want to do it like that. Or we can do, 10 minutes, in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, whatever, throughout the day. Okay. All of that is up to you. You're the one who has to decide. And this can be really fun, just to kind of do this experiment. I always wonder what's going to work for me. And the more that you figure out where's a good place in my house to sit, what time of day is a good day for me to, what time of day is the best time, how long is the best length of meditation for me, you're going to feel really confident. about your practice. You're going to feel a lot more confident about your practice, you know? Um, and then if you've done all that experimenting and you find like, okay, the morning is generally the best time, but I also really like to practice in the middle of the day, etc. Then you'll be able to be a lot more flexible with your practice. So what I mean by that is like we all know like your day doesn't always go the way you want, right? We don't always have exactly the same situation every single day. So in general, we might commit to practicing, let's say, an hour a day. Let's say I really want to practice an hour every day. Okay, but there's gonna be, I promise you, there's gonna be days when we cannot do it. We're sick, overwhelmed, we have too much work to do, we get depressed, whatever it is. Okay. If we're well versed in all these different ways of practicing, then we're not going to be thrown too far off by those days when we find practicing challenging. So you'd be like, okay, well, I can't do my usual 1 hour in the morning today because of XYZ, but I am going to do 10 minutes when I get home from work. And so you've still done some practice. You see what I mean? But this is like really, really helpful to have all these tools. Then, um, hang on, I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. I don't forget, I lost what I was going to say, but so anyway, we need to be flexible in that way and experimenting with what works for us for all those elements I just mentioned earlier is going to really help us with that flexibility. Oh yes, I remember now. Yes. So the other important thing about doing practice at home is consistency. Okay. We want to practice every single day. And as I just said, some days that's going to be an hour, some days it's going to be just 10 minutes, doesn't matter. But every day really matters. Okay. And the reason for that is that it has to do with like momentum, right? So it takes some momentum to kind of get this ball rolling in the first place, right? Okay, all right, I said I was going to practice, going to set up my place, I'm going to experiment with times, etc. Right? Then we sort of maybe practice every day, and then we might get to a point, as I said before, about we find it challenging for whatever reason, life gets in the way. If we stop practicing because of life getting in the way, um, it's just going to create a habit of stopping, you know, and then it becomes one day, and we're like, okay, I'm not going to practice today, but it's okay. I'll practice tomorrow. Maybe that first time we do practice tomorrow, you know, but then like 3 days later, we get busy again, and then we're like, well, I'm not going to practice today. Then it's like 2 or 3 days before we pick it up again. Then we just drop it all together, and it can be years, maybe never, that we pick it up again. So we want to have this consistency, and we need to make practice like part of our hygiene, right? It's good to, I forgot what they call it, like stacking, I think they call it, where you stack different habits together, right? Get up, brush your teeth, take a shower, you do your practice, right? It's just become part of your morning routine or your evening routine or whatever. Instead of it being some huge deal, special thing, it's just, yeah, I'm gonna just do my practice, it's just part of my day. We need to take it kind of lightly, I guess, in that way of like we want to take it seriously, like we want to, if we choose to, of course, and we say this, we want to make a daily practice, then we need to be kind of committed to that, but we don't want to be burdensome about it. We don't want to be heavy about it. We don't want to punish ourselves if we don't do as much as we want, or if we have to skip a day or whatever it is. Okay. So on one hand, we want to be committed and we want to do our best to continue and have a regular practice and not give up and not break it and things like that. On the other hand, if it does come that we don't practice for a day, we don't want to, or for a week or a month or a year or whatever it is, we don't want to beat ourselves up about it. That's really important, you know because if we're beating ourselves up about it, it's going to make it harder to continue. We need to be as kind and as gentle and as understanding with ourselves as we try to be with others. And that is not a weakness. That is skillful means. That is a skillful way of continuing our practice. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's it for that subject right now. Um, Before we go on to the actual practice, does anyone have any questions about practicing at home? I don't know if anybody's even watching on YouTube. I guess. Does anybody on YouTube have any questions? Can put it in the chat. I can see the chat. Give you a little minute to formulate if you want. No, everybody's master meditators. Good. Okay. So excellent. So let's do some meditation. So we're going to begin with mindfulness of breathing practice. Okay. And this is basic practice, a simple practice. It's the first meditation taught by the Buddha, called Anapanasati in Sanskrit, which just means mindfulness of breathing. And we can be mindful of anything, we can be mindful of breathing, we can be mindful of walking, of eating, of going to the bathroom, of brushing our teeth, but the teachers say that the Buddha chose the breath because it's always with us, as long as we're alive, we have the breath. Okay. I'm scared with this. I don't know who this person is. Who is seven? Okay. Sorry. The teachers. Sorry, you scared me because of the hack we had last time. Okay. So where was I? Mindfulness of breathing, right? So as long as we're alive, the breath is with us. So it's just there, so we can meditate at any time. So what we're doing with this practice is we're taking a particular posture, which I will explain, and then we are bringing our awareness to the sensation of the breath at the end of the nostrils. And we're using that sensation as the focus, the object of our concentration. But be careful when I say concentration, we tend to come at it with a furrowed brow and a lot of tension. It's just awareness, it's relaxed awareness of the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Okay. So what are we doing with the mind when we do this practice? We are um, we are just letting the thoughts come and go as they will. Okay. We're not trying to stop them. We're not pushing them away. We're not judging them. Oh, that was the most amazing holy thought I ever had in my life, or I can't believe I had this terrible thought. I'm a terrible person. It's just a thought. Okay. So we don't need to put a lot of weight on it. So we want to just allow the thoughts to arise, dwell, and disappear on their own without judging, as I just said, and without following after them. Okay. We want to just let them be and keep our awareness on that sensation of the breath. Okay. So let me give you an example. So what we want to avoid is, we have our posture, we brought our awareness to the sensation of the breath, and we're trying to keep our mind on the breath, and a thought arises, uh, it's snowing. Okay. We want to avoid running after that, which is what we normally do in our day-to-day life. Like, it's snowing. Oh my God, I'm so sick of this snow. It's just heaping in Cleveland. Oh, when is winter going to be over? When is spring going to come? Is the snow going to melt? Is the guy going to come and do my driveway? Oh, I remember when I was 12 and we built a snowman. We just, that's running after a thought. Okay. And that's normal. It's totally normal. Please don't judge yourself for doing that. It's what we do all the time. And this meditation is just a matter of recognizing that, oh, I got totally distracted, and just bringing the mind back to the breath. That's it. Okay. So that's what we want to avoid. What we want to do is same thing, sitting, we have the posture, etc. Thought arises, it's it's snowing, but just let that be and continue to focus on the breath. And that thought will be replaced by another thought, related or not related, doesn't matter. And we just let that thought be. The thoughts will arise, dwell, and disappear on their own. Okay. We don't have to interfere. We don't have to comment. We don't have to follow. We don't have to be involved in any way. Focusing on the breath, letting those thoughts come and go. Okay. So that's the aim. Maintaining continuous awareness of that sensation of the breath in a very relaxed and spacious way, letting the thoughts come and go. When, not if, when we get distracted, as soon as we realize that, oh, I got totally distracted, just bring the mind back. Just bring the mind back and start again. Okay. So those are the instructions. So the posture is, if you are sitting on the floor, or on your bed, you just want your legs crossed in whatever position is comfortable for you. If you're sitting in a chair, you want your feet flat on the floor in front of you. All the other instructions are the same, whether you're sitting on the floor or sitting in a chair. Okay. So you have three possible positions for your hands. You can have them palms down like that on your legs, your knees or your thighs, whatever, or just palms up one on top of the other like that in your lap. Doesn't matter which one is on top, most practices. Or with your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs touching like that, like you sort of have a goose egg. That's called the meditation mudra. Okay? That's so whichever of those three you like, you can choose. Main thing of this posture is that your back is straight. Since you got all these nerves running up and down your back, so and down your spine. So you just want your back straight. But again, relax. You don't want tension in the back like you're standing at attention in the army. Okay. Just straight, but relaxed. Back of the neck is also straight. So the chin is going to be tucked in a little bit. Okay. Mouth is, sorry, the arms are just relaxed. So you're not holding them out, you're not pressing them in, just relax. Shoulders should be back a little bit. They say like vultures wings. You just usually to get there, I just roll my shoulders back one time, and you can feel right away it kind of opens up the chest. Mouth is closed but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. Ideally, your eyes are open, looking downward and relaxed lowered gaze a few feet in front of you. Okay. This posture is called the 9-point posture of Virocana. It is acknowledging the mind-body connection, and this posture supports the mind in meditation. So now we have the posture. So then just bring your awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So instead of focusing towards the end of the nose. Okay, so that sensation is the focus of your meditation. Maintaining the posture, spacious awareness of the sensation of the breath, letting the thoughts come and go without judgment or commentary, bringing the mind back when you get distracted. So please begin that now. Now we can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in-breath or every out-breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. The counting helps us to, it just helps us to realize more quickly if we've gotten distracted because we'll notice we've lost count. So um, maybe, we get to 4 and we just start running after whatever thought arose at that moment. And then suddenly we're like, wait, where was I? That's okay. This is a practice. That's why it's called practice, right? So when we realize we've gotten distracted, um, we simply bring the mind back and we start again at 1. The attitude with which we do that is super important. So we don't want to be judgmental. You know, like I said, it's totally, completely normal and expected that we're going to get distracted. When we realize that we've gotten distracted, Ziegler Contribution says we should see that as a victory. That's a victory. Oh, that's so cool. I realized I got distracted. That's exactly what I want to do. And we bring the mind back to the breath. So even if that happens, 50 times in 15 minutes, 50 chances for rejoicing that we realized we got distracted and bringing our mind back to awareness 50 times, right? Um, if you get to 10 without getting distracted, don't get distracted by that. You know, "Ah, I'm the best. I'm the queen. I got to 10. Just got to 10. Start again at one. Okay. So please begin that now. We'll count to. Bring the mind back to breath, a lot of spaciousness. Body should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining the posture. The mind should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining awareness of the breath. Okay, we can end the meditation now. All right, so now we're going to do the closing prayers. If you're on YouTube, you can find it in the description below, but I will share them on my screen anyway in case you did not download them yet. Minute. All right, so again, the long life prayers for the Dalai Lama, our teachers and all teachers. These we're just going to say in Tibetan, um, because our teachers say that they were written in Tibetan, and practiced by realized beings, and so the words themselves have power. So that's why we do in Tibetan. Um, for longer sessions of classes and things like that, we do in English and Tibetan, but in this case, just the Tibetan for these long life prayers. You're not obliged to join if you don't want to, of course. Kanri wa we ko we shinkam su pendante wa malu chue ne chenre si wan ten sing yam su yi shape ga ga ba tu ten yu shi. Then the one below for Jigme Kensur Bishay. Om Swasti Jigme Kempe Kalu Yam Paru Gungab Se Chen Se Se Gum Dawa Nidu Den San Nam Ke No Bu Cho Se Che Yawe Shakin Tasu So. And the one Kim Bishay. Om Swasti Sela Kim Sur Chin Lok Ten Jun Le Linsin Da Se Yu Chu Pema Samsung Nadri Gilbo Totene Napchen De Shi Tun Tai Ge Shu Lama Gungam Sampo Suwa De Chutu Kuse Riwa Suwa De Tine Tashin Ge Ba Suwa De Lama Dandre Wa Me Pa Chingi Lu. Then we dedicate the merit. This one we say once in English, once in Tibetan, the remaining three just in English, and then we do the 100-syllable mantra for purification. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sonamdi Tache Sipani Togne Nyepe Tranam Pamche Shin Kegana Chi Balon Chupai Sipe Sole Joa Joa Sho. May Buddha existence fly, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has risen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and Dharma kaya. May I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Tenova Ishtadrito Me Bhava Sutokayo Me Bhava Subokayo Me Bhava Anuragto Me Bhava Sawasiri Me Prayatsa Sawakama Sutsa Me Chitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Savatata Gata Vajramani Munsa Vajribhamaha Samaya Sattva. Okay, so thank you for joining me this morning, practicing together. I do want just to give a couple notes to the retreatants. We'll meet again in 2 hours at 1:30. And I want to remind you during this time, especially if you have decided to do the deepest of those 3 levels, that you want to maintain silence, mindfulness, avoid media, and all that stuff, according to your circumstances, of course. So have a good break. I'll see you at 1:30. Have a good day, everybody else. Good weekend, and see you later.